tonight on Y News. China agrees to work on a much clearer time frame for the Code of Conduct in the hotly contested South China Sea. Some Solons defend former First Lady Imelda Marcos against looming arrest, saying her graft conviction is already enough.
Marami rin nag-violate ng easement, malapit masyado. In fact, clarify ngayon. At saka yung sewage and treatment plant nila, nabanggit rin kasi nakaka-affect sa quality ng water dyan sa dagat.
And parts of Palawan's tropical paradise El Nido to undergo rehabilitation. Good evening. China reveals during the ASEAN summit in Singapore that it has agreed to work on the establishment of a code of conduct for the South China Sea in 3 years' time. Here's why from Annie Mancilia.
For the first time after more than 2 decades, China has finally spoken of a clear time frame on negotiating for a final code of conduct in a hotly disputed territories in the South China Sea. During his opening remarks at the ASEAN-China summit on Wednesday, Chinese Prime Minister Li Keqiang said China acknowledges the differences among countries in the region but noted that the atmosphere has already improved through the years, even amid the decade-long dispute, as neighboring countries have found a way to properly manage and diffuse differences. In fact, Prime Minister Li said China has now agreed for a time frame to negotiate specifically on the establishment of a code of conduct in the South China Sea.
And it is our hope that we can set up a time frame so that in 3 years' time, the COC will become a set of rules contributing to peace and stability in the South China Sea.
President Rodrigo Duterte, meanwhile being the ASEAN-China Dialogue Relations Coordinator, delivered the ASEAN's commitment with China in working towards the full and effective implementation of the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea, in its entirety and the expeditious conclusion of an effective code of conduct in the South China Sea. He added that ASEAN and China are now in progress in the initial phase of the COC, while looking forward to the completion of the first reading of the single draft COC negotiating text by 2019. Duterte said both parties agreed to maintain peace, security, safety, and freedom of navigation and overflight in the region. In 1995, China took control of Mischief Reef in Spratlys Island that is part of the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. The Philippines, in response, lodged a protest through the regional bloc. The dispute with Beijing reached the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague, which ruled in 2016 that China has no legal basis for claiming the territories in the South China Sea. Annie Mancilia, UNTV News and Rescue, Singapore.
Chinese President Xi Jinping is scheduled to visit 2 other countries next week following the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit in Singapore. Let's find out why from Rosalie Cos.
Chinese President Xi Jinping is set to pay his first state visit to Brunei and the Philippines from November 18 to 21, greatly promoting relations between China and the 2 countries, according to Chinese Vice Foreign Minister Kong Shan-yu. He says Brunei and China have kept close communication, including the visit of Brunei Sultan Hassan al-Bolkiah to China in September 2017 during the China-ASEAN Expo. With President Xi's approaching visit to Brunei, the 2 countries will be able to formulate a high-level design in their bilateral relations. For Xi's visit to the Philippines, Kong thanks the efforts of both sides. Relations between China and the Philippines have been strengthened and continue to improve. The 2 countries now have a rare opportunity for further development at bilateral and multilateral levels.
习近平主席此次对文莱的国事访问
The 2 countries now have a rare opportunity for development at bilateral and multilateral levels. First, political mutual trust between the 2 countries needs to continue to be enhanced. After President Duterte took office, the 2 presidents meet several times and reach a number of important agreements on upholding a friendly rapport between China and the Philippines. properly handling differences and working for common progress, and setting out a direction for the future development of bilateral relations.
给两国人民，特别是当地人民带来了实实在在的利益。
Secondly, the two countries have fully recovered cooperation in all fields. Last year, the bilateral trade volume between China and the Philippines surpassed $50 billion, with China being the Philippines' largest trading partner. Important progress has also been made in cooperation in infrastructure construction, according to Kong. Thirdly, the two sides have continued to properly handle issues related to the South China Sea through dialogue. They have effectively managed disputes at sea, actively advanced maritime cooperation, and have been jointly protecting the stability of the South China Sea, he added.
三是继续通过对话协商，妥善处理
Fourthly,
南海
the
问
two
题。
countries have supported each other at regional and multilateral levels. Last year, the Philippines was the rotating chair of ASEAN, and this year it is the country coordinator for the ASEAN-China dialogue relations. The two sides have maintained sound communication and cooperation on China-ASEAN relations and cooperation in East Asia. They also have worked closely at the United Nations and other multilateral platforms to uphold the common interest of developing countries.
双方在联合国等多边场合密切协调配合，共同维护发展中国家利益。
He adds that President Xi will also make a new strategic plan for developing bilateral ties during his meeting with Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte. Budget Secretary Benjamin Jokno meanwhile says that China promised around $3 billion to finance the Duterte administration's infrastructure projects. This include the Philippine National South Railways project that aims to link Manila, Matnog, and Sorsogon. The project is expected to commence next year.
The visit of the head of state of China will put pressure on the speed of implementation of all these projects. So let's wait.
Rosa Licoz, UNTV, News and Rescue.
Several lawmakers stand in defense of former First Lady Imelda Marcos in connection with the Sandiganbayan's decision on the graft case she is facing. But Makabayan Bloc expressed their opposition. Grace Gasin tells us why.
Minority Leader Danilo Suarez shares the same sentiment with known human rights lawyer attorney Rheena Sagisag in his recent statement in connection with the conviction of Ilocos Norte 2nd District Representative Imelda Marcos in 7 graft cases in Sandiganbayan. Suarez is one of the congressmen who were against the arrest of Marcos.
Sinabi niya, yung conviction is enough. It's shameful enough that you were convicted already. So parang sinabi niya, baka hindi na kailangan ipakulong pa ang dating unang ginang. Sa akin, 89 years old.
According to Buhay Party List Representative Lito Atienza, the age of Congresswoman Marcos should be considered, but Bayan Muna Party List Representative Carlos Zarate opposed.
If Secretary Enrile or Senator Enrile can be released on the basis of age and health. The former First Lady is also an elderly person. 89 siya. And she's not totally that healthy.
Pumunta ka sa National Bilibid Prison ngayon, ang daming senior citizens, no? Ang daming mga political prisoners na ang kanilang kaso ay hindi na-resolve at namatay na lang sa loob ng kulungan.
In a statement, Sandiganbayan temporarily hold the issuance of a warrant of arrest against Congresswoman Marcos. This after the Marcos camp filed a motion for leave of court to avail of possible remedies for the absence of Mrs. Marcos and her lawyer attorney Robert Sison and further request for a deferment of the warrant of arrest. The motion is set for hearing on Friday, November 16. The appearance of former First Lady to the hearing is not yet confirmed. But her chief of staff at the House of Representatives, who refused to give statement in front of the camera, says the congresswoman will follow the order of the court if she will be instructed to appear in the hearing on Friday. Zarate, on the other hand, expressed disappointment to the deferment of the issuance of the arrest warrant, saying the victims of the human rights violation under former President Ferdinand Marcos' administration are waiting this conviction for so long.
Ang ating panawagan sana rito, no, na i-apply yung batas ng pantay-pantay, no? Dahil makikita talaga rito yung special treatment, no, sa pamilyang Marcos.
Congresswoman Marcos has not been attending any session of the House of Representatives since Monday. Grace Cassin, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
After Boracay Island, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources is eyeing to conduct rehabilitation in parts of the tropical paradise in El Nido in Palawan. Ray Pelayo tells us why.
Signs of environmental degradation were seen in most of the tourist areas in El Nido in the island province of Palawan. El Nido is considered a tropical paradise among tourists for its famous white beaches and blue lagoon. It has a total of 45 islets. Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat personally witnessed how establishments violated environmental provisions in the island such as overcrowding.
Ang reklamo ko nga yung lagoon na nakita ko, masyadong maraming kayaks and boats at hindi malinis, madumi, nagtatapon sa lagoon.
The local government said around 22 structures were already demolished by their respective owners due to multiple violations. 50 other structures are still under evaluations. Just like the problems seen in Boracay Island, violations of the easement zone and the improper waste disposal were verified in most tourist sites in El Nido. According to Environment Secretary Roy Simatu, they aim for Palawan to be fully environmental compliant, but they want to start with the municipalities of Coron and El Nido first. Unlike Boracay, Simatu said they will close only the non-compliant establishments, not the entire tourist island.
Marami rin nag-violate ng easement, malapit masyado. In fact, clarify ngayon. At saka yung sewage and treatment plant nila, nabanggit rin kasi nakaka-affect sa quality ng water dyan sa dagat.
Department of the Interior and Local Government Secretary Eduardo Año, meanwhile, clarified that the situation in El Nido is not as worse as Boracay. Año said they will submit some recommendations to President Rodrigo Duterte, but not the full closure of El Nido.
Maybe there's no need to close El Nido in its entirety, but we can do the cleanup and the rehab even without closing El Nido.
Simatu hopes that the actions that the agency is undertaking would serve as example to other tourist destinations across the country. Ray Pelayo, UNTV, News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Department of Tourism invites more Britons to visit Philippine tourist destinations following the implementation of its Sustainable Tourism Development Programs. Dennis Damasco tells us why.
Cleaner and safer Philippine tourist destinations top-billed the promotions of the Department of Tourism during the annual World Travel Market in EXCISE, London in the United Kingdom. Philippine Tourism Attaché in London, Jerry Panga, says the DOT aims to lure more European visitors with cleaner and more safety-compliant tourist attractions under its Sustainable Tourism Development Programs. The recently opened and much cleaner paradise island of Boracay is a testament to this program. The island is known for its pristine beauty and powdery white sand beaches.
So it's back and now more environmentally friendly and safety compliant destinations. We are expanding and showing more and more products, convince the stakeholders to support more Philippines.
The United Kingdom still tops the list of European countries with the most number of tourist arrivals in the Philippines. The DOT believes that with its present programs and directions, European tourists will surpass the targeted 200,000 mark and maintain the 9% growth rate this year.
I've set my new marketing directions, and there are 3 pillars that we will work on. Number 1 is high spend, long stay, and optimal experience. I'm not only looking at demographics, I am now looking at the new psychographic tendencies of why people want to travel. It's no longer seeking destinations. It's really looking at motivation, and driving interest into destination.
The DOT also highlighted in the World Travel Market last week the use of social media and technology in further promoting the beauty of the Philippines and its people.
We were able to share them success stories about the Philippines, about how tech-savvy we are as a people, how very much present we are online, and how we're able to bring always the positive voice over the negative voice in the internet. So it was a great discussion yesterday.
Apart from visiting incredible places in the Philippines, the DOT is also looking to intensify its promotion to make the country a primary destination for foreign retirees and pensioners as well as investors. Dennis Damasco, UNTV News and Rescue.
Government employees will receive their cash gifts and year-end bonuses equivalent to a full month's salary beginning tomorrow. This is in line with Budget Circular number 2016-4, which mandates that the said incentives be given not earlier than November 15. The government personnel qualified to receive the incentives are those still in government service as of October 31 of 2018 and with at least a total of 4 months of service from January 1 to October 31, as well as those who have retired or separated from government service before October 31 of the same year and have rendered at least a total or an aggregate of 4 months. Meanwhile, the 13-month pay and other benefits are exempted from tax if they do not exceed 90,000 pesos, according to the Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion or TRAIN law. The Department of Budget and Management has allocated 29.7 billion pesos for the year-end bonus of civilian personnel, while 6.7 billion pesos is allocated for the military and uniformed personnel. Government employees will also receive their productivity enhancement incentive beginning December 15. Talented youths of Southern Luzon are soon to be wish-covered. Leslie Longbowen tells us why.
Ortiz is one of the founding members of vocal group The Company.
I can't let you pass me by, I just can't let you go. But I know that I am much too shy to let you know.
He has also written numerous catchy and popular songs, including Pagdating ng Panahon of Isa Segura. Now, Ortiz will be writing a song for the chosen singing hopeful from Southern Luzon in Wishcovery Season 2, The Singer and the Song.
Yung ginagawa ng buong Wishcovery system and network is groundbreaking, game changer kumbaga. Ginagamit nyo ang new media and of course yung strength talaga ng Filipino, which is actually organic, innate, natural musicality.
Moy believes Wishcovery is a great way to discover the talents of the Filipino youth.
Hindi ko hinahanap yung laki ng boses o taas ng boses. Ang importante yung dating sa akin, a very good storyteller. Kung anong gusto mo ipahiwatig sa kanta mo, through your songs, your message, yun ang importante.
The prolific songwriter says his camp is ready for the challenge as the new season of Wishcovery is soon to open.
Team Ortiz is gonna come prepared and we're gonna bring our A game. I'll be competitive. I'll come prepared. So, my fellow songwriters, watch out.
Wishcovery Season 2, The Singer and the Song, will air this November on Wish 1075 YouTube channel. Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Up next on Y News. Government contractuals to get a 2-year extension job and better pay. A road expert warns of possible corruption if Congress approves the bill seeking to resolve traffic congestion and illegal parking. And Filipino Autism Advocate wins inaugural ASEAN Prize. Thank you for keeping me company in the first part of Y News. More reasons behind the stories with Angelo Castro III after this quick break. I'm Rheena Villamor-Camara. Good evening.
Palace condemns ambush in La Union that killed Palawan Vice Mayor Alfred Concepcion. President Rodrigo Duterte approves suspension of additional fuel excise tax in 2019.
Ang sitwasyon ng PER na nangyayari ngayon ay walang pagkakaiba doon sa sitwasyon noong 2014 kung saan nagkaroon tayo ng malalang porsyendasyon.
And truckers and custom brokers threaten to hold a truck holiday against port congestion. Malacanang has ordered the Philippine National Police to probe the ambush in La Union that killed 2 people, including the Vice Mayor of Balawan Town. Victor Cosare tells us why.
Malacanang condemns the ambush against La Union local chief executives Mayor Aleli Concepcion and her father Vice Mayor Alfred Concepcion. Presidential spokesman Salvador Panelo said the attack, which left Balawan Vice Mayor Alfred Concepcion dead and his daughter Mayor Aleli Concepcion wounded, is now under police investigation. Police says Vice Mayor Alfred Concepcion died from the attack by unidentified gunmen while on his way to attend the municipal council session on Wednesday morning. His aide Michael Ulep was also killed in the ambush, but the Vice Mayor's daughter, Mayor Aleli Concepcion, who was in another vehicle, survived.
Dito sa nangyari na pamamaril na ito, mayroon tayong 2 bystander na natamaan din. So, kung titignan natin yung sa report ng ng Balawan Police Station, ang na-involve lahat na tao dito is naswatan is 10. So yung 10, 2 doon is na-declare na napatay, si Vice Mayor Alfred at saka si Michael Ulep.
The PNP is now looking into possible motives for the incident, including political and personal issues. Investigators are also probing whether the assailants were part of a gun-for-hire group paid by a politician.
Yes, isa yan. Of course, kaya yesterday, we presented yung mga operations natin on private armed group, particularly the identified private armed group dun sa Nueva Ecija, which we said earlier that this group is also operating in the provinces of La Union and nearby provinces like in yung Cagayan, sa Region 2, and also in Bulacan and parts of Region 4A.
Panelo has extended the government's sympathy to the families of the victims. Prior to Alfred Concepcion's death, at least 11 mayors and 6 vice mayors have been killed since President Rodrigo Duterte took office in June 2016. Victor Cosare, UNTV, News and Rescue, Philippines.
President Rodrigo Duterte approves the recommendation of his economic team to suspend the implementation of additional fuel excise taxes for the first quarter of 2019. Rosalie Cos explains why.
The Office of President Rodrigo Duterte has yet to issue a formal order on the suspension of the second tranche of additional excise taxes on oil for the first months of 2019. In particular, the collection of the additional 2 peso excise tax for every liter of fuel will be suspended beginning January next year. This is despite the downward trend of oil prices in the world market. A provision of tax reform for acceleration and inclusion or TRAIN law states that the next tranche of additional excise tax will be automatically suspended if the price of Dubai crude oil will reach $80 per barrel or more for 3 consecutive months.
I just got a communication from the Executive Secretary saying that our proposal to suspend the 2 peso additional excise tax on oil next year has been approved. All right, and we have no intention to recommend again. It cannot be, setting policies is kind of difficult, and we cannot do it at the whim and because in response.
The budget official notes the move will result in revenue losses of around 26 billion pesos. It will also affect the government's fuel subsidy program for jeepney operators. Instead of 20,000 pesos, recipients will only be receiving 10,000 pesos. There's no definite period yet until when the suspension will be in effect, but Secretary Jokno reiterates that the government will review it on a quarterly basis. Jokno also insists that the government has the privilege to suspend the excise tax and will not violate the law.
The administration has the prerogative to suspend if it wants to. Okay? In the light of recent developments, you cannot violate the law. It's the Department of Finance who is implementing the law.
Meanwhile, Jokno denies a report that the government has failed to reach its target revenue collection under the train law.
Number one is false, that it's not yielding much more than what we actually anticipated. So, in other words, you have the program revenue collection as a result of train one, we have actually exceeded the collection.
Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Several firms have expressed dissatisfaction over the government's proposal to reduce the corporate tax rate from 30 to 20% under the second package of the tax reform law. Nel Maribuhok tells us why.
The administration's economic team has been highlighting the positive impacts to the business sector of their proposal to reduce the corporate tax rate from 30 to 20% under the second package of the tax reform for acceleration and inclusion or train law. For one, a company will have an additional 300,000 pesos in gross income under the train if their corporate tax rates are lowered. Under the current tax rate, firms with 3 million average annual net income are required to pay 30% or 900,000 pesos in corporate taxes. But for the Copper and Power Tran Construction Incorporated, the apparent savings cannot be really considered as additional income as this will only offset their growing annual material cost.
Lalo na nakikita natin ngayon yung tagbo natin ngayon, tumataas ibang mga materials, etc. Doon mo lang naman siya kukunin eh. Kasi fix yung fix yung margin mo eh. Fix yung income mo.
Actually, ramdam na ramdam po namin yung pagtaas ng material cost.
Senate Committee on Ways and Means Chairman Sani Angara says they are set to visit areas to conduct public consultation on the proposal.
Yung mga investors, for example sa Cebu, nag-i-import sila tapos gustong buwisan yung kanilang imports pero yung binebenta nila ine-export din nila. So, kung mas paboran treatment sa kanila sa Thailand, for instance, baka pumunta sila sa Thailand, then nawalan tayo ng negosyo, nawalan pa tayo ng trabaho, di ba?
The Senate assures to closely scrutinize provisions and potential impacts of the proposed Train 2. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Truckers will stop their operation for 6 days starting next week. This is due to the worsening empty container congestion in the Manila Port area. Grace Casin will tell us why.
Truckers in the Manila Port area will stop their operation starting next week. The Inland Haulers and Truckers Association said they will start the truck holiday on November 19 until November 24. The reason of the truckers' holiday is the worsening empty container congestion in the port area. Empty containers are congested in the port area because shipping lines have not been retrieving them to bring back to their country. The group said their business is affected because instead of making deliveries, they are stuck with the problem in finding where to upload the empty containers. If remained unsolved, this will surely affect not only prices of goods, but the whole economy.
Ang sitwasyon ng pair na nangyayari ngayon ay walang pagkakaiba doon sa sitwasyon noong 2014 kung saan nagkaroon tayo ng malalang port congestion. Kung ito ay hindi aaksyonan ng gobyerno, whether kami ay lumabas sa kalsada o hindi, yun yung inaasahan nating mangyayari sa mas malapit na panahon.
The group also complained about the planned phase-out of their trucks. According to them, they will just maintain the good condition of their trucks instead of phasing them out. Supermarket owners believe that the truckers' holiday will affect the price of goods, especially if the supply will also be affected.
The fear is maaaring tumaas ang presyo dahil kung konti supply, lalaki ang demand, dahan-dahang lumalaki ang demand, natural, tataas ang presyo niyan, di ba?
But despite the worsening problem in the port area, there are some groups who decided not to stop their operation. The Alliance of Concerned Truckers, Owners and Organizations said they will continue their deliveries despite the call to stop operation. The Chamber of Customs Brokers said they will not take part of the truckers' holiday because it violated their code of ethics. And the Confederation of Truckers Association of the Philippines believe that conducting a truckers' holiday is not a solution to the problem. Meanwhile, Hervancio said they might extend their holiday if the government will not act on their problems. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
A road expert doubts that instead of resolving traffic congestion, the proposed proof of parking space bill might result in corruption. Joanano tells us why.
Illegally parked vehicles are one of the major causes of traffic congestion in Metro Manila. The MMDA reports that they apprehend more than 100 illegally parked vehicles every day. Some of the vehicles are caught parked right where the no parking signage is posted that resulted in congested roads. This is the problem that the No Proof of Parking Space Bill by Senator Sherwin Gatchalian targets to resolve once the bill is enacted into law. Under the proposed bill, a buyer of a brand new or second-hand vehicle must first submit an affidavit proving that he or she has a parking space for it. The Land Transportation Office and the MMDA, on the other hand, are tasked to conduct an ocular in the said parking space.
It will help us in our continuing operations against illegal parking. Kasi yung mga kababayan natin na bumibili ng 3, 4 na sasakyan pero ang garahe iisa lang, maiiwasan na po natin yung proliferation of illegally parked vehicles on the road.
However, Engineer Alberto Swansing of Philippine Global Road Safety Partnership is not in favor of the proposed bill. He argued that instead of resolving the traffic congestion, this might just result in corruption.
Paano mo i-operationalize yan? So, most probably, you'll require a certificate coming from, let's say, the municipality or the barangay na meron kang garahe. Siguradong yan. Corruption prone yan.
For Swansing, the government should just be stricter in enforcing the law under the Land Transportation and Traffic Code. Under this law, vehicles are prohibited to park in intersection roads, on crosswalks, within 6 meters of the intersection curb line, within 4 meters of the driveway entrance to any fire station and fire hydrant. Vehicles are also prohibited to park in front of private driveways, national roads, mabuhay lanes, and areas identified with no parking signages. Based on the records of the Chamber of Automotive Manufacturers of the Philippines Incorporated, the Truck Manufacturers Association, and the Association of Vehicle Importers and Distribution, car sales since year 2014 to 2017 increased. But just last September 2018, car sales have decreased to 9.7%. This is lower compared to the same period last year, while car production has also decreased to 13.8%. The MMDA admits that in spite of their intensified operations, their manpower is not enough to strictly enforce the existing laws against illegal parking.
Kailangan namin ng 7,000 employees. We only have 2,300. And instead of increasing, actually we're decreasing dahil marami pa kaming tinatanggal na mga hindi sumusunod sa panuntunan ng ethical standards namin.
Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Makati City.
House Majority Leader Rolando Andaya reminds all former members of the House of Representatives to surrender their protocol license plates. Andaya says the order is due to reports that certain vehicles with protocol plate number 8 have figured in crime-related activities or were spotted in indecent places. The House leader reiterates the memorandum issued by the Secretary General for all members of the House regarding the immediate recall covers all protocol plates issued during the 16th Congress and earlier. Contractual workers in government can look forward to some good news as the government works to provide them with benefits and longer job extensions. Here's why from JL Asayo.
3 government agencies worked together to come up with a joint circular detailing guidelines that will greatly benefit job order and contract of service workers in the government. Recently, the Civil Service Commission, the Department of Budget and Management, and the Commission on Audit announced they have amended the Joint Circular Number 1. Government agencies are now allowed to renew qualified contracts up to 2 more years or until December 31, 2018. Previously, renewal of individual contracts of existing contract of service or job workers was only until December 31, 2018. The salaries of government contractual workers will also now be equivalent to the daily salary of those in comparable positions in government starting January 2019. Contractual workers should also expect to receive a premium of up to 20% of the salary that may be paid in monthly, lump sum, or in tranches depending on their government agency. The amended circular also provides that qualified existing contract of service and job order workers shall be considered for appointment to vacant positions of government agencies. This will be subject to existing civil service laws, rules and regulations, and merit selection of plans approved by the CSE. This is welcome news for contractual workers Adrian Mendizabal, who has been serving as an information officer of the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources for more than 2 years now. Aside from job extension, he is also set to receive better pay. However, Adrian laments the vast difference of this rule from the benefits given to a regular employee.
Yun po, wala po kaming protection, wala kaming benepisyo, tsaka mahirap pong wala din kaming bonus.
The Confederation for Unity Recognition and Advancement of Government Employees, or COURAGE, also considers this amended circular a triumph for workers. But the group admits this is still not enough to address the contractualization scheme in the country.
Para sa amin po, isang tagumpay to bagamat hindi lubusan dahil after 2 years, itutuloy pa rin yung agency hiring.
The government notes there are more than 700 government contractual workers across the country, which leads them to question the administration's campaign and order for private firms to regularize their workers.
Kung tutusin, ang gobyerno ang pinakaunang violator ng contractualization law sa ating bansa dahil siyang maraming bilang mga kontraktual na manggagawa.
Government contractual workers also worry that if they were not regularized by December 2020, they would have to deal with a third-party agency to outsource their service. JL Asayo, UNTV, News and Rescue, Quezon City.
A Filipino advocate for persons with autism has won the inaugural Association of Southeast Asian Nations Prize 2018 in Singapore. Here's why from Myla Guevara.
Ms. Erlinda Uyco is the Chair Emeritus of Autism Society Philippines. The advocacy started with Erlinda and her husband searching for the best intervention for their firstborn who was diagnosed with autism since the age of 3. She and her husband realized that medical treatment is not enough. They needed to equip themselves with the knowledge on how to properly treat children with autism. She searched for a support group who could help and educate them on dealing with children with autism. That's how she came to know about Autism Society Philippines, or ASP, and later on connected with the Asia Pacific Development Center on Disability.
Madalas po, nagkakaroon po ng misunderstanding. Kung bata, napapagkamalang spoiled brat. Kung malalaki na, napapagkamalang weird or nerd. No? So, kung through educating the public, then mas maintindihan po nila that.
Ms. Uyco helped establish the ASEAN Autism Network, which synchronizes events on autism awareness such as the ASEAN Autism Games, a sports event for persons with autism. Malacanang congratulated Ms. Uyco for bringing tremendous pride and honor to the country. Ms. Uyco received a trophy and $20,000. She said she will use the money to further strengthen the foundations of her advocacy and reach out to more donors who would support their program to help persons with autism integrate into society.
Gusto po namin ay mga interventions na affordable, localized, no? At sustainable. Kasi po, ang kinoconsider natin dito ay ang typical na pamilya sa ASEAN, kagaya sa Pilipinas. No? And sabi nga po natin, sa buong mundo, ang mga ASEAN countries ang talagang sabi nga pamilya, pang-pamilya. No? So even for autism advocacy, the family will always come first.
Myla Guevara, UNTV News and Rescue, Singapore.
Up next on Y News.
So I don't see how you can support it from a democratic point of view.
Opposition group urges ministers to reject Brexit deal. Text agreed by the European Union and the United Kingdom. Forensic teams look for human remains in ashes of California's deadliest wildfire. And a Taiwanese grandpa draws public attention for playing Pokemon Go using 15 phones at once. Y News will be right back after this quick break.